Might get you, once we get going, might get you to come up here and look at it and just say, here's where it is. Well, hi everybody. Welcome back. Looks like you didn't scare too many people off. I figured a couple wouldn't come back, but they're like, I have no way I'm going to go be on TV and or listen to that guy. But I didn't even really tell you that much controversial stuff to scare you away on Monday. So let's see who made it. Jasmine.
Here.
Here, okay. And Ireland.
Here.
You, okay. Grace. It's Grace, okay. Caden. It's over here, okay. And Alyssa. Let's see, okay. Bailey. No Bailey. Kendall. That's you? Yeah. And Jesse. Okay. And Hunter. Over there. And David. That's you. Kelsey. Back there. And Shay. No Shay? What's your name?
Bailey.
Okay, so you're here. Okay, good, thank you. Where was I anyway? Oh, Shay. No Shay, we decided. Cooper. Over here. Okay, good. Elena. Back there in the corner. And Corey. That's you. And Kim. That's you. Why am I getting Kim wrong? Is that you? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, good. And Chia. That's you, right? And the other Bailey. Okay. And where else do we go? Josiah, right here, and Waylon over here. Okay. What? What's your name?
Marion.
Marion. And what's your last name?
Alvy.
Alvy. I'll print out a new roster for next week, and I bet you'll be on it, and probably somebody else will be dropped out of it. So thanks for letting me know that. Okay, welcome back to speech. And will you leave that shot on there for a second, Sam, so they can turn around and check that out? Remember, if you spin around, that this class is on RSU television and that people can watch it live on TV right now or on YouTube later. So can we switch to the screen here? We're going to show them how to find that. I'm asking Sam to come up here and dig around the RSU Public TV website for us for just a second. This is where all the...
It will be up there.
Oh, well, we saw it yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, I know. I'm not really sure why.
What happened to it?
We'll figure it out.
Oh, okay.
It will be.
It will be there later today. And we'll have our own playlist for it for fall 25, right? Awesome. Okay, so if you go to RSU Public TV, and what I just learned is that when we go in here, this is the home spot. This is where all the things RSU TV does are placed. So there are food fight championships. If you never watched these, pretty good stuff. The other programs that they do, perspectives, and the interviews they have with various community leaders. So you go to RSU Public TV, and then you hit playlists, and you can see what's up there now. These are all the spring classes. So you can see spring 25, and all the classes are listed here. And so all the way back to, let's see, lesson 3. I don't think 1 or 2. Something happened on 1, and then 2, we had a big throwdown argument on here that I didn't want to leave on YouTube for everybody to see and for it to go viral. So got rid of that one. But aside from that, they're all there. And I watched, come back to me now, Sam. So that's how you find it, RSU TV playlist, and then we'll have our own folder for those classes. But for whatever reason, I got a link to the video on Monday, and I watched it just to see how it would look. And I was really happy to just see it because it's you, the students of Rogers State University, on television introducing yourselves. And I like that. And then I think some of you have more confidence than others on screen. Others of you maybe don't have so much confidence, but what I always enjoy is watching that confidence grow over the semester. And then some of you will grow even more. You're already comfortable on camera, so then you just get better as time goes on. Why is this important? Because we're all on camera all the time now. And eventually you will have to be on some kind of camera, maybe for your job, maybe for wanting to brand yourself as some kind of social media person. So it's a good idea to know how to present yourself on screen. So it's one of the reasons I started this class on TV was for our communication students. It's like, okay, if you want to be in the media, well, let's start with putting you on television and see if you like it or not. Some people find that they do and comfortable. Other people are like, it's not really my thing. I think I'd rather be behind the camera. Okay, or not anywhere around it at all. But this gives you that experience. There's something about being on electronic media, whether it's radio or television or in a film or even on your phone that you're posting somewhere, that crystallizes your intent because the focus is all on you. And there's nothing to distract anybody from that focus. And so you want to be prepared for that. And you may someday have to speak in front of a large crowd, a large audience, maybe an auditorium full of people. I had the experience last spring of speaking to 45,000 people at the what they called the Boys from Oklahoma shows, which were these concerts in Stillwater with all these bands like Turnpike Troubadours and Cross Canadian Ragweed, Jason Boland and Stragglers, so forth and so on. And as I mentioned the other day, I'm a Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame founder, so I do a lot of the inductions. I MC a lot of stuff, which you probably won't be surprised by. So they asked me to do an induction of these bands on the stage at the concert. And I went, okay, no problem. So I had my text ready, rehearsed it several times, and went out, gave me the mic, and I had no problem. I wasn't nervous at all because I was prepared, and I was comfortable in the environment, and because of all my professional expertise, I switch on a switch, and the next thing you know, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do when I read that first word of text. However, here's what I learned. When you're talking to 45,000 people, you've got to give them time to react. So for example, the first person I inducted, I think, was Stoney LaRue. And so I started listing off his songs. And they told us we only had so much time, so I had to get through it. So I'm thinking I need to go quickly. So I started reading his song titles. And it turns out these songs are popular with people. And the 45,000 people wanted to go, yay. So I said the first song title, and I didn't really hear the roar begin. And then I started my second song title, and everybody's cheering and drowning me out. And so what I realized is I got to give some space to these songs so the crowd can cheer, and then I can say the next one. So the next induction, because I had to do 4 of them, I slowed down. I adjusted, because you have to sometimes. Oh yeah, I'm talking to 45,000 people, I need to give them a second. And so I gave them a second. Big roar, name of song, big roar, name of song. And we were working together at that point. And so as a professional speaker, these are situations that you wind up being in. As a beginning speaker, beginning public speaker, we don't expect you to stand in front of 45,000 people and hold the crowd. There's some videos online of the whole situation, and they're kind of fun to look at just because of being in front of that many people and talking. But I'm used to big crowds, and I'm used to talking in front of people, so it's not an issue for me. And that's why I think it's good as a pressure cooker for you. A couple things I want to talk about with regard to the first speech, which is going to be, and we'll talk about that here in a little while, next week we'll do our first round. And that's going to be your introductory speech, and I have some outlines for you, and I'll be passing those out today. Today is a little bit of a theory day, talking about some of the things that we're going to be discussing, the different types of speeches. The syllabus, as mentioned, is already online. I gave you a copy, so you've been able to look at some of these things. But when I talk about public speaking, you want to be prepared. You want to be ready. There's a difference between just talking in conversation and presenting to a number of people. So what I noticed on the broadcast on Monday was a lot of you were talking as if you were talking to someone who was standing right here, not to somebody who's in the back of the room. And so what we want to do just as a beginning speaker, just beginning, is be louder. Because what you're trying to do is get your voice out there to the crowd. Now, we had a microphone here the other day so people at home could hear, but we're not going to do that anymore because there's an in-house microphone system now. So it's where you see the little green light up there that will pick you up when you're up here. So we don't need the mic anymore. And of course, I have a mic here so people at home can hear me. But I want you to think at home, practice a little bit. I'm not going to do this exercise here. I do it in my non-TV classes, speech classes. I'll make us all go out and stand in a circle, and then we all have to say something. And we have to make sure that we're addressing the people across the circle from us. And then I say, okay, I want you to do it more loudly now. And so everybody has to amp up their volume a little bit. And I'll say, okay, now I want you to do it even louder. Let's hear your real outside voice. When you're trying to get your friend's attention, when you're trying to tell somebody to stop something, what level of voice do you use? Obviously, I'm being extra loud right now. But because of the quality of my voice, I typically don't have to yell so much because it's already loud. Just naturally, that's just part of my biology. So if you don't have a naturally loud voice, or you're a little bit shy around people, or you're not used to projecting your voice, this is the place to practice that and to get used to that, because you want to be able to get people's attention. So there's a big difference between just talking casually amongst ourselves and presenting to an audience. So, subject matter. I want to address this again. I mentioned on Monday that I typically try to stay away from politics and religion, unless it becomes an important part of what we're discussing. Maybe it's part of your background and it fuels how you feel, then that's appropriate because you're trying to explain to us why this particular thing is important to you. Not that, and we've had this before, if you feel like because of your religious background, anytime you're in a public environment, you have to witness or explain to us how good your particular view of religion is and what it's done for you, it's kind of lame, to be honest, because we're not here for your conversion purposes, nor is our audience. We're here to listen to you. So I ask you not to proselytize. What's proselytize mean? Push your religion on us. Okay, we don't need that. All right, we want to know who you are and where you come from and what you have to say, but we don't necessarily need that. Politics, also a tricky deal. You're all of voting age. You should have political ideas at this time. Everybody except you, maybe, and I'm not picking on him, but I know he's a concurrent student. So if you have a political perspective that feeds how you feel about yourself, or it helps you interpret a particular subject, okay, go for it. Let's just see what you have. But remember that politics is often fueled by emotion, not logic and facts. So if you get into that, and that's what happened in the class that we canceled. It got too hot in here because I let a student go off, and then if I let a student go off, they gotta let me go off. And like I said the other day, it's like arguing with your grandpa. I just have more experience. I know more. And so I don't want to get in that kind of situation, really ever again. But at times I have to let students go because sometimes that's the best lesson for all of us, is to just go ahead and let somebody talk themselves into a hole. And it's like anybody who says anything inappropriate in a group where that thing is not appropriate, what do you say? Do you check them on it? Say, you should not say that word, or you should not do that. Or do you say, instead of being prescriptive to them, I'm surprised you'd say that in public, because then it puts it right back on them. Oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. Now, others will say, because of the way our social experiment is going right now, that for a while we were way too over here on the left, the liberal side. And so what's happened is now politics has gone the way it is. That pendulum is swinging back over here to the right side. And whatever people felt on the left now is being subverted by people on the right. So that's getting into political science. And you have an American federal government class. You can study political science if you want to. But when we get into persuasive essays and we start talking about logic and facts, that's where a lot of the political ideology goes away. Because if you can present facts, it's harder to bring emotion into that situation. Because most of our religious and political feelings are based on emotion, not facts. So I want to bring those up because I think it's very important for us to keep in touch with what's happening in the world. Can we go to the computer, Sam? And I'll bring this up a little bit. See if that'll make it big enough for us. So, one of the things I really like to do, this is an extension of a website called the Drudge Report. I look at the Drudge Report every morning. It's what's known as a news aggregator, and it shows you various stories going on around the world that are of importance to us. that you may not see anywhere else. One story I noticed that's already off the Drudge, but was there a couple days ago. Have you heard about the robot embryo gestators that China has developed now? So that they're able to take the fertilized egg, put it into a synthetic amniotic sac that's within a robot, which is fed fluids that help the fetus grow. It costs about $14,000 for one of these things. Okay, well, some people say you shouldn't have a robot gestating a human baby. Well, what if someone's infertile and they can't have a baby? What if having a baby would totally mess up their health situation because of whatever physical issues they have? Maybe somebody just didn't want to have a child go through them because what that does to your physical self. Okay, so now China has come up basically with an artificial mom. If you want to pay a human to do it, it's like 50 grand. But you can get a Chinese robot and it'll do it for 14 grand. Well, is that ethical? Is it good? Is it bad? I'm not asking you to make a decision, but I didn't know about it, so I saw it on the Drudge Report yesterday and looked it up. Of course, we can look up anything these days, but also part of the Drudge Report is the headlines of the day from newspapers from around the world. We may think what we have going on in our lives right here in Claremore is the most important thing in the world. Guess what? It's not. There's important things happening all over the world that are important to the people where they live. Remembering that we're an interconnected society now, and that's why it's important for us all to be able to present well. You never know who you're going to be talking to. You could literally be talking to every person in the planet that is connected with their phone to the internet if what you have going on is important enough. So I like to go and just see what the headlines of the day are around the world. And I'm not going to go through each headline, but I look and see just what's happening, whether it's the United States or looking what's happening in France, looking at what's going on in the UK. And depending on your language skills, you can read all kinds of newspapers. But if you can't, what can you do? Put an article, copy it, put it in ChatGPT, say convert this into English, and you can read it. Download a page of a newspaper, upload it to ChatGPT, say convert this to English. It'll do it for you. Whether it's written in Chinese, or it's written in Japanese, or it's written in Farsi, or it's written in Hebrew, or whatever. So you can see the news from Australia, from Miami, Oklahoma, from Miami, Florida, and so forth. A lot of talk about just what's happening in the world right now. I'm really not going to get that far into it. San Francisco, but this is a good way just to find out what's going on around the world. But here, let me back up to the Drudge Report. Everybody should know this website, even if you don't look at it that much. I personally look at it every day, usually in the morning. When I check all my social media, I also check Drudge Report. And usually by the end of the day, I'll check it in as well and just see what's going on. A news aggregator is not a site that has stories in it. It has links to stories. And the headline is the link. And it's trying to bring you into this particular story. The stories are both sides, left and right. And so you'll see some of the major figures of contemporary politics going on. There's the President of the United States, there's the Governor of California, and I'm not going to go through all these stories, but if you look at this every day, you'll be better informed than everybody who doesn't, number one, but most of your friends. So come back to me for a second, Sam, and without getting into all the sensational aspects of all that, why is it important to be informed? Nobody has answers, so you don't want to be informed about the world? Keep the... Well, so you know what's going on, definitely, and it feeds your perspective of what's going on. Perception is what we think. That's just our thought about things. So if I look out at each one of you in this class, I have a perception of you based on looking at you. In the same way, you have a perception of me by looking at me. But perspective, and I got into this a little bit on Monday, is where I try and see things from your point of view. What are you thinking? You're in RSU speech. There's something you gotta have for your gen eds. There's Foley up there. I'm gonna deal with him. I'm gonna be on TV next week, even more. Plus, I got my other classes. I got a job. Oh, my car's got problems. You got a lot of things going on in your life, and I understand that. So I try and provide that perspective. But how do you get perspective around the world? You have to look at some source that tells you what else is happening out there. And you need that perspective because we get a little myopic, is a good word. We don't see behind our own perceptions, only what's important to us. That's all I really care about, what's happening to me. Not worried about anybody else. Well, a good speaker is empathetic to other people. And I brought this up Monday as well, the idea of empathy. Being able to, there are a few different kinds. There's emotional empathy. That's being able to have the perspective of someone else's emotional challenges and wanting to comfort them in one way or another. Hey, it's going to be all right. Emotional empathy. Intellectual empathy is being able to think like someone else and understand at least where they're coming from, even if you don't agree with it. And that's the hallmark of an educated person, is being able to listen to a different point of view without freaking out or over-responding. Listen, decide if it's for you, and if it is, okay. If it's not, let it go. Let them have their perspective. And then the final one is physical empathy. And what's that? Somebody who's in physical stress and needs some help. Maybe they need some help changing their tire. Maybe they need, have you ever seen like a really short person trying to reach something high in a grocery store and they'll look around for a tall person and say, hey, can you get that for me? And you, sure, I'll help you out. And that physical empathy is also important. So when you're a speaker, you need to not only be empathetic toward the audience, but how can you really be empathetic if you don't know who they are and what they have going on? So knowing your audience is really important. Telling your personal stories is super important. And that's one of the ways we get around AI doing everything for us as teachers, that we want the students to show us what they're about. Where did you get your perspective? And use that to bring people in. People are drawn in by your personal stories. I'll mention getting emotional for a second. Sometimes when you're giving a speech about a subject that's really close to you, you might get emotional. Like start to cry a little bit. What? Now what? Now I'm on TV and I'm crying? So that can send you further down that path. Or what? Crying's normal, right? That's why we have tear ducts. You heard the famous phrase, a good cry? What's that mean? Clear it out, get it out of your system. Then go on with your day. So in this environment though, if you do get a little bit discombobulated or emotional, deep breaths. People tend not to breathe when they start to cry. That's why they're doing this number. So breathe, and breathe through your nose. Calms you down. Find a point in the back of the room. If you don't, and I'll talk about eye contact, that's one of the things that I emphasize. You should be looking around and making eye contact with everybody that you can that's looking at you, because that's how you make that connection. But a lot of times people are nervous about that. They don't want to make eye contact. Or they've grown up in an environment where eye contact is actually disrespectful until you actually know somebody. Meaning you don't look at somebody when they're talking to you. You look away and let them speak to you. And I won't bring up culturally specific things right now, but there are cultures like that. So sometimes we have to break through that, because a lot of times we have to do what in our society? Code switch. What's it mean to code switch? Anybody know what that means? Code switch? Personally? Switch between? Say that one more time.
Like using a different way of talking.
Yes. Exactly. And what he just said was, you know when you should speak a certain way. So you're going to talk one way around your immediate friend group, and you're going to talk another way at your job, which, depending on the job, typically are not supposed to be big personal events. You go and do your thing and then you leave. Whereas if you're speaking to your class in a formal setting, you're going to also speak differently. So we talk about code switching as going, like in my world, going from country to city. It always sounds jokey when I put on my country accent, because that's how I grew up in Eastern Oklahoma, right? We weren't even so sophisticated that we said y'all, right? Back then we said yins. What's yins mean? Anybody know? Youans. It's a way to make the word you plural. Y'all is you all, right? But youans is like a country, old country way to make the plural you. But then you don't say youans, you say yins, like Y-U-N-S. Yins going uptown. Like that is old country hillbilly talk, right? So I can't go into a contemporary hyper-educated environment and say, how are yins doing today? You just wouldn't go. But usually we can say you all, y'all if you're going to be real friendly and you just want to say, hey, I'm kind of southern and country or something from like that. But we want to avoid you guys. Why? Because we're not all guys. Because the guys used to mean men. But now guys means the whole crowd. So I tend to tell students, well, avoid saying you guys. Just say you all. If you want to emphasize how authentic you are country-wise, go ahead and break out y'all. But you're not going to break out yins, because you know that's not a phrase even people would even understand, much less use. You just don't hear it very much. So code switching is important to understand what it is. When do you get formal? So the audience will have a lot to do with that. Also, adapting to listener feedback is really important. That's why I told you the story earlier about being on stage in front of so many people, is you have to adapt to that feedback. So in a class, depending on the class, like this class is pretty dynamic. It's on television, you all have to talk. You're watching me talk because you're going to have to talk, and I'm going to be looking at you, and not if you talk like me, but are you doing all the things you're supposed to do? So I'm looking for that feedback from you all. How are you responding to what I'm saying? So that's why I emphasize being up to date on current events. You're a better talker if you have a better frame of reference. AI. How's AI going to help you? A lot of ways. And that's a longer subject. We don't have to go yet, Sam. I'm bringing my ChatGPT up ready to go. Every one of you could do an outline for your speech in ChatGPT. I'm going to give an introductory speech about myself in a college speech class. Provide me an outline for this speech. It'll do it. So now you get your outline. Well, now what? Well, now you have to put that information in there. So there was a study that came out about a month ago. Did I mention this on Monday? About AI and searching for Google and all that stuff? Okay, I talked about that a little bit. So we know that doing your own work is harder. Learning something new and trying to do it, it's harder and it's frustrating. Why? Because your brain's trying to figure it out. But if you just go to ChatGPT, and let's go to our screen here, and we go write an outline for a 4-minute introductory speech for my college speech class. I'm sure millions of people around the world are using ChatGPT right now. Let's see what it says. This is the free version, so it's kind of jammed up. I didn't log into mine. Sure. See how slowly it's moving? It's because this is the free version. And so everybody in the world can use it. There's 1 billion people on free ChatGPT right now. So if you get your own version, then it doesn't move like this, like a snail. Look, it's just barely building it. So, tell you what, let's go back to me. Oh, here we go. Little pieces. Choose your own title. It even gives you timing. So your introduction, about 30 to 45 seconds, where you're going to tell us a story about yourself. Something to get our attention. And provide you a greeting. Let's see, I don't think it's going to write your whole speech for you, but it's more or less going to outline what you need to do. And I hope that everybody in here has used this. I would encourage you to get your own account so it'll move a little faster. Good morning, everyone. My name is such and such. I'm excited to tell you about myself today. Start with a personal quote, a fun fact, or an anecdote. It gives you an example, and it keeps on going. And this will outline this for you. Well, now what's your brainwave activity? What's your part? You got to fill in your own parts of this. That's your brain activity. Because it doesn't know you, it doesn't know what your story is, doesn't know your background, but I've heard ChatGPT called, or any AI, called an intellectual assistant. I've also seen it called a thought partner. All right? It helps you think, but doesn't take the place of your thinking. And if you let it take the place of your thinking, you're not doing your brain any favors. If anybody in here is an athlete, you got to work out to keep your body in shape so you can compete. Same way with your brain. You have to exercise it or you won't be able to compete. There's also something now known as the AI gap. What's the AI gap? People who know about it and use it, and those who either don't want to use it or are not going to use it or don't even know about it. These people over here are moving faster than the ones who are not using it. So as this thing is built, a greeting, a hook, you start with your personal quote. Purpose, today I want to give you a quick snapshot of who I am, where I come from, and what motivates me. Background, where I'm from, my hometown, cultural influences, a childhood memory, a fun fact. I grew up in a small town where everybody knows everyone, and Friday night football was basically a holiday. Then your interests, but this is just giving you a general outline. Whereas I have a couple things I want you to do. So I don't know, and I haven't included them in here. If I put them in as a prompt, meaning include a section on a challenging situation I overcame and what I learned from it, then it would build it into this ChatGPT. Goals and aspirations, another minute after your interests. So why do you need me if you can just go in here and outline your speech? Well, first of all, you need me because I'm going to give you a grade so you can get the 3 credits to put on your gen eds so you can keep moving on your degree. But secondly, you need my feedback on how you present, how you speak, how you hold yourself, are your shoulders back, are you breathing enough, are you loud enough, do you say too many times, are you using your hands? So that's just your physical stuff. Now we go to your intellectual stuff. Are you organized? Do you read the text or do you speak it? And that's what we want. Nobody should come up here and just blah, 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 or blah, 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 blah off a screen. You should talk to us, not read to us. But occasionally you might need to read something. And that's okay. But the eye contact part is so important that if you're spending all your time down here and not looking at your audience, they're disconnected. They don't have a reason to keep watching you or listening. They could read the same thing. It's like when you do a PowerPoint, you're not supposed to read it. The PowerPoint is supposed to be a guide for students to look at while you are talking. So you put bullet points up there and talk around them. You don't put a giant block of text and read it to them. If you put the giant block of text up there, at least it should say something that you're not saying. Let them meditate on that while you're doing your talking. So let's go back to our screen for a second. So it's very slow to build today because I know so many people are using it. As I mentioned, this is the free one. There's your intro for 30 to 45 seconds. The body of the essay is going to be 2.5 to 3 minutes, where you would do your background, your interests, your goals and aspirations, then your conclusion, your wrap-up, and your call to connection, it calls it here. What I like is some encouragement at the end. You know what? Let's see if that'll work. There we go. That'd be better for y'all. You know, Control Plus makes your screen bigger, right? Everybody knows that, I'm guessing. So, intro yourself, blah, 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 and here it all is. Well, it's not moving fast enough for me to show you some other examples. You can come back to me, Sam. But what we want you to do is learn to use AI to assist you, to help you. Because you should be on the positive end of the AI gap. You know about it. And as I was telling my other class yesterday, whatever field you're going into, doesn't matter what it is, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not going into ChatGPT and asking it how AI is going to impact this career field. You absolutely must. Because some jobs are going to go away. And you may be thinking you're going to have a job, and it turns out that job's going to be replaced by a digital language model that can work faster than you can. So it's important for you to be able to work with it. Not as a replacement, but as your helper. It's in your tool belt for success. And everybody should have one. That's like your superhero belt. Everybody should have. And one of the things in there is your understanding of and ability to use AI. And then we all have our other secret weapons in our belt that we need occasionally, but that's a really important one. Okay, so what I'm going to do first here is I want you to be thinking in terms of how you would do your first speech. And your first speech is an introductory speech. And because we have AI now, you can tool an outline to your own desire. But I want it essentially to be that. An intro with an attention getter. You're going to tell us who you are this time. The rest of the semester, we don't need, hi, I'm so-and-so, because we know who you are now. And speech coaches will say that slows down any speech. You basically kill your momentum by saying, good morning, everybody. I'm so-and-so, and I'm here to talk to you today about this. Well, most likely they already know why you're there to talk to them. You're on some kind of program or something like that. Plus, you've more than likely been introduced by somebody. So we just want you to get right into your attention getter, your purpose statement, and then some important stories or facts to support that purpose statement, to get us to understand where you're coming from, because you're enlightening us about your subject matter. And I always enjoy the introductory speeches because we get to learn about you, where you're coming from, what your perspective is, where you're going in life. So think about this, and however you want to do it, you need an outline for your introductory speech. And I'm trying some new things this year because of AI. I think each one of you have a little different outline depending on what you put into AI. Because remember that there's another role called prompt engineer. You know what this job is? Anybody know that one? It's another new term, prompt engineer. People are being hired to write the prompts that other people who don't know how to use AI hire to just put the information in there. A prompt engineer. So as you're writing it, if you say, just kind of how I did it, write an outline for a 4-minute introductory speech for my college speech class. Okay, well that's kind of basic. But how about acting as a college freshman who's doing a speech for their college speech class on television, provide me an outline for a 4-minute introductory speech. And you'll get that outline. And so that's what I want you to do. The only thing I want you to remember is at the end, one component of this is a challenge that you overcame. Something that happened to you in your life that you didn't expect, and you overcame it. You learned from it. It taught you something. And this is really important just in life as a whole. Resilience is a very important thing for us all to be able to develop. Why is that? Because bad things continue to happen to us throughout our whole life. Resilience is what gets us through those bad things. When we say bad, of course, that's all a contextual thing. And what I mean, somebody we love dies unexpectedly, just to start with that. It's going to happen. It may have already happened to some of you so far. But the older you get, the more it happens. Because life is a very tentative situation. And sometimes it's not even your fault, or it's not the person's fault. It's somebody else's fault. You just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. You're in the way. So we need resilience to get through these things. Especially if you have any kind of, and I'm not being a psychologist here, but if you have any childhood issues that happen, traumatic how'd you even get here? How are you able to go around and hold yourself upright every day? Because you're resilient. You made it through that. And that makes you stronger. So when the next thing happens to you, you have something to draw from. And then we can all learn from each other by hearing what experiences you've had that you're willing to share with us that you overcame and made it through. And the reason I emphasize these things is because these are the important things to you. This is what makes you seem real to other humans. Because we have all had challenging experiences of one type or another. So you can more or less follow the outline here that has been shown to us. And if you have your book, you can also work with it as well. But start with something fun that gets our attention. So when I do my talks, I have so many different audiences that I speak to. But sometimes I'll start with, I was a teenage magician. And people look at me like, what is he going to say next after that? And the reason I start that way is because sometimes I talk about my show business career. And it still goes on today, but it started when I was a teenage magician. I learned how to do magic tricks. And I started doing shows for birthday parties and like civic organizations. And it grew into a high school magic shows on stage, sawing people in half and all that stuff. And that was really my entry into show business before I got into radio. So that's a way that I've used sometimes to create some interest, because it's not something that you hear every day. So similarly, you should have something in your background that is interesting about yourself. A band you like, an important place you've been, maybe you traveled to another country and you learned things that you didn't know. Maybe you had a class that really changed your life. Something may have happened in a sport or extracurricular activity that you have that really taught you a lot. Maybe you've met a really famous person somewhere. And that can be a way to get started. I never thought X, Y, and Z was possible until I met so-and-so. And after that, I decided I was going to pursue that path. So attention getter, some kind of hook, introduction to yourself, background. A more expanded version of what we did on Monday. Where are you from? A little bit about yourself. And as the body continues here, your interests, what you like to do in your off time, play pickleball, visit your grandma, work on a quilt, go to the lake, take runs. I like movies, whatever it is, gaming. Then your major, why you choose it, we chose it, and we said this a little bit on Monday. Some of your goals, what do you hope to aspire to? What do you want to do? But before you close, and however you decide to arrange it, wherever you think it fits, I want a story of resilience, of bouncing back from something that was tough and challenging. Maybe not so tough that it's going to traumatize us, but something that was a difficult situation you overcame. And at the end, encouragement. Make sure you offer us a word of encouragement. I made it through all this, so you can too. Something along those lines. What I'm really concerned with is really the form. So you have in your head, I need to get people's attention, tell them why I'm here, if they don't know already, have a sequence of stories that I'm going to tell, a point of encouragement at the end. And that's it. You only have 4 minutes. We're going to start at the top of the roster next week, and we're going to start those on Monday. So first thing, I'll come in, just start class, introduce, and as I've mentioned, we have 49 minutes and 15 seconds in here. So we really have to make haste, so to speak. And that's why we have 20 students. We should be able to do 10 4-minute speeches on Monday, and then 10 4-minute speeches on Wednesday. We'll just blast right down the list. That would be, let's do 10. Marianne, Jasmine, Ireland, Grace, Caden, Alyssa, Bailey, EIGH. Where were we, 7? Kendall, 8. Hunter, 9. And David, 10. Then on next Wednesday, it would be Kelsey, Shay, Cooper, Elena, Corey, Kim. I need to print a bigger roster. Marion, Josiah, and Waylon back there. And that'll be our first speech. We're not going to do a practice and a final. This is just a one-time deal, your intro one. The next one, the informational speech, we'll do a practice and a final. So 1 week we'll do practice ones, we'll get feedback on them, and the next week we'll do the final one. And I'm thinking Monday, Sam, we should know by pretty soon when our playlist is going to be up, so we'll know where all those classes are and everything.
It'll be up today, but it's also already on RSU TV.
Oh, it's already on.
RSU.TV, yeah. They're
Okay, cool. So that way you can check it out. And I think it's really important for you to review yourself, how you look and sound, and you may think, oh my gosh, that's terrible. That's okay, because we're learning here. It's an opportunity for you to have this experience and get better. And so are there any questions about anything? Not even one? Okay, finally, David, what do you got?
Have to turn in like any papers in or like a rough draft or.
That's a good question. Do you have to turn anything in? No, I just want you to come here ready to go. And the way I do things over the years have kind of changed. I want more responsibility to be on you. And so whatever you decide you want to do, that's okay. Now I get to critique it how I want, and you'll get that when it's over. But I want to talk to you, tell you what you're supposed to do. I want you to use some AI to get your outline set up, and then come in and do it for us.
Okay, I have 2 questions. Are we allowed to have note cards like to the podium, or do you
Yes.
just want us to memorize it?
You can use note cards. I always encourage memory, but it is okay to use note cards. Sometimes you might want to have them in your hand. You might want to put them in front of you. I just don't want you to read them. But yeah, you can use a visual aid. What was the other question?
And then the order you just said all of our names in, is that how it's going to be split up, like between Monday and Tuesday? Okay, sounds
So
good.
you'll be on Wednesday
Okay,
then. And then what I'll do, the next time I'll flip that order. So we'll start halfway through. So not everybody's not always going, like where's Marianne? Marianne? Oh, no, aren't there 2? Are you Marian or Marianne?
Marianne, but that's like earlier you didn't call my name,
Oh. So
so I don't.
is your last name Alvey?
Yeah. It's,
Okay, so you're first.
okay.
So